Hey everybody, this is Building the Pride in our sub show called Off the Bench, where I get to talk about things in the NFL that I find personally interesting, as opposed to just Detroit Lions information. So today, what I'd like to talk about is some particular fallout from the NFL trade deadline. So we're going to keep it Detroit Lions adjacent, in the sense that Aaron Glenn used to be the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, and now he is the head coach for the New York Jets. So we're going to talk about the Jets today. So just a little background while I'm kind of setting this stuff up. I used to be the Jets, not beat writer, but the person but the person who was in charge of following the Jets for an article called drafttechsports.com. And it was just kind of this fun junior level position that you used to like break into the sports world. And what I learned from that experience was how poorly the Jets handle their business. So I just wanted to talk a little bit, because this might be the revival of the New York Jets. And like what I wanted to kind of do is like take a look at one or two scenarios and then compare them to like what the Detroit Lions have done or are doing currently with their roster. So the New York Jets trade away two of their star players. You could argue the two best players on their team when healthy, and Ahmad Gardner, Sauce Gardner, and Quinnen Williams, defensive tackle. So I'm setting all this up while we're doing this here. Yeah, so they should have traded Breece Hall too, because he basically was begging for his release, but they didn't grant it. So now the Jets did something pretty interesting here. First of all, they absolutely loaded up on draft picks. And we're going to take a look at that from this wonderful website, if you always don't use it, called Tankathon, who keeps track of all draft picks from, I believe, all four major sports organizations and the WNBA. Yeah, so here we go. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Okay. Someday, it's my dream that we live in a world without ads. So the Jets have one win. If there's ever been a better example of tanking in the NFL, it is what the New York Jets are doing currently with their roster this season. So they signed Justin Fields to a 2-year deal. Technically, he can be on their roster next year. They are 1-7 and have had their bye. So I wouldn't be surprised if they end up something like 3-14, 4-13, by the end of the year. Get out of here. So they have their own pick, which is, let's say, a top 5 pick right now. And then they have Indianapolis's pick, which right now, because of record, is considered the 32nd pick in the NFL draft. But that pick might be in the mid-20s, which isn't crazy, but I mean, like 7 spots might be a difference between, a difference maker and somebody else in the NFL draft, someone that's going to be able to help your team that you're going to have 5 years of control over. And then also, and this is, I think, very important. Let's go here to the mock draft. So they have 3 right now. They have 32 and 35. So they have 2 picks, one at the end of the first round, one at the very top of the second round, within 3 players of each other. And then they have pick 46, which they got from the Dallas Cowboys by trading Quinnen Williams. And I don't believe they have any other picks. So they have 4 picks in the top 46 picks in the 2025 draft. So what I'd like to do today is go through 2 scenarios with the New York Jets and how they can use their picks this year, and then look at what they might do next year, because the 2026 NFL draft. No, I'm wrong. The 2027 NFL draft, so the draft after this upcoming one in April, is absolutely loaded with talent like I don't think that we've seen maybe in 10 years. You have guys like Jeremiah Smith, wide receiver from Ohio State, who's been amazing since he was a freshman. You have Ryan Williams, wide receiver from Alabama, he's not as dominant as Jeremiah Smith, but he could also be a number 1 wide receiver. You have Dylan Stewart from South Carolina, who might be an unbelievable edge player. There's a lot of ifs and buts and things right now because these guys are still pretty young. Arch Manning could have a turnaround season at Texas and come into the draft as everything that he's been billed to be. There's a lot here that could happen. And so what I want to do right now is just run through a quick two round mocks with the Jets, and we're not even going to make any trades. So let me do stuff. Okay, and then obviously I need to make this larger. Okay, so we're going to do 2 round mocks. Start the draft. All right, so right off the bat, you have a number of scenarios to consider. The player that I think they should take here is Jordan Tyson, wide receiver from Arizona State. But they have A.D. Mitchell, was a throw-in from the Sauce Gardner trade. And if it turns out that A.D. Mitchell becomes even a decent third option, I don't know that you want to take a wide receiver here, because you're going to have 3 cracks at a pick next year that could be Jeremiah Smith. So remember, next year the Jets have their own pick, Dallas's pick, and Indianapolis's pick. So Dallas probably isn't, I don't think we'll be picking in the top 10. I don't think Indy will be picking in the top 10. Those could both be playoff teams, or Daniel Jones regresses or gets hurt, or Dak Prescott gets hurt. And then all of a sudden you have a situation where the Lions found themselves in, where they had, 2 picks from the Rams, and one of them turned out to be like the 6th pick in the draft. That was unbelievably helpful for the Lions. And, now the Jets find themselves, I think, in a similar situation. So what to do with your very first pick of of the rebuild. And so I think the first thing that you do is you go and you take a quarterback, and it's one of these 3 guys. So let's just take a look at them real quickly, each one. So Fernando Mendoza is the kid that's broken out. Every year there's one quarterback who breaks out. And so he was on some watch lists earlier in the year, but has exceeded all expectations. 6'5", 225. He's probably not that big in real life. He's just played excellent all year. 79.5 adjusted complete. So this takes out drops and I don't know, there's a couple of other factors. His big time throw rate is 2.5 times his turnover worthy play rate. So that's excellent. Now this is once again in college, so passing grade's excellent. He's good at intermediate. He's good deep. He's good. He's excellent when he's not pressured. That is baseline. That is absolute baseline when you consider whether or not you're above or below replacement level. 60 is the grade at PFF. So he is average when it comes to being pressured, and that's in college. So the Jets have two young tackles in Armand Membo and Olu Fashanu. And then they're going to get Elijah Vera Tucker back. So you don't need much on the interior to have a really, really good offensive line. And I think getting a quarterback this year is the better of the two ideas because you don't know what the quarterback class next year looks like, but I think we know what the non-quarterback class next year looks like. So Dante Moore, 6'3", 206, was playing exceptionally well earlier in the year, not playing as well lately. Yeah, see, Wisconsin's not good. Didn't play very well. Rutgers, not very good at all. Played very poorly against a good team in Indiana. So excellent deep grade, excellent intermediate grade, a little bit better under pressure, but he is quite young. He is a redshirt sophomore. So there is a chance that he comes back. So from Mendoza is a redshirt junior. So I think that he is probably coming out. Now, this is the guy that I'm really keeping an eye on. Ty Simpson, 6'2", 208, not very big. Really good. Has played really, really well so far this season for Bama. So big time throw rate, 5 to 2.2 turnover worthy play. So once again, right around 2.5 times. The amount, slightly lower adjusting completion percentage. Not as good under pressure, right? So this might be the guy you have to protect a little bit more. So first pick, I'm going to go at 3 here. I'm going to take Mendoza, who I think is the best of the bunch as of today. So something else that the Jets could do here if they really wanted to is they could package 32 and 35 together to move back up into the first round. I don't know what that would really accomplish for them unless they're specifically targeting a player. But with this plethora of picks, I don't know that you need to do that. I think you just sit and stay and you take what's available here. Okay, so there's a couple of things here that I quite like for them. So Elijah Vera Tucker, he's one of their guards. I like the idea of adding another young piece to this offensive line, especially since you have other young pieces to grow with. And so I'm going to take Vega Ioane from Penn State. What I really like about him is the height, weight, speed. 6'4", 328. That's big. That's NFL size already. Excellent pass blocker. That's what you're looking for. Man blocking scheme, which I imagine that Aaron Glenn wants to run. And has played a little bit of right guard, but predominantly left guard. So I'm going to take this kid because I think that NFL line play is typically more responsible for overall success in the NFL than what it's given credit for. So, and then I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a kid from Oregon, 6'3", 330. You just lost Quinnen Williams. This guy is an excellent run stuffer, Amari Washington. I like this. Like you're playing, he played 8 games and he played 14. He's on track to play another 14. And your grade is getting better. So it jumped up 8 points. Now it's jumped up 10 points so far in the season. If you can maintain that steady linear progression, I think you're really doing you're on your way to becoming like a really productive NFL player. So we got one more pick in this draft. And then let's talk about next year's draft. So they say that the QB, wide receiver, linebacker, and defensive back I'm not really sure that I agree with these. So obviously they've just opened up defensive line, which we've addressed. We took an offensive lineman as well and a quarterback, but we just got AD Mitchell as well. And do you trade Sauce Gardner if you're not relatively confident in your three cornerbacks that you have on the roster? I mean, I don't know that you just have to run. My point is, I don't think that you have to just run right out and replace AD Mitchell. So let's look at some linebackers. 6'2", 228. That's my problem with linebackers nowadays, is that they just seem like they're getting smaller and smaller. They're almost like big safeties. And like, this is still the NFL. Like, I don't know that you can go this small. But what if we give him this guy? If you watched USC play it all this year, this guy is absolutely lighting it up. So he can work on his drops like most college players. 7 games, 26 catches, 440 yards, 3 touchdowns, average of 17 yards a catch. He absolutely was a problem when I watched Michigan play against him. And so if AD Mitchell doesn't work out, I think you're building in, can we find a number 2 or number 3 wide receiver, behind Garrett Wilson? So I'm going to take this guy kind of as an upside hedge against who the Lions take. Gabe Jackas? Sure. Let's pump this up a little bit here. So they're going to grade my draft poorly, but I think it's a good draft for the Jets. So A+, B-, C+, B+. Okay, that's better than I thought. But right now, you put maybe the best college quarterback on the Jets. You give them another solid NFL-sized offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman. You give them a run stop. I mean, at least you can try and replicate the run stopping ability of Quinnen Williams with a pick like him, and like have him grow into the role. And then you give either 2 or a 3 number 3 wide receiver that you can put. So now Mendoza has a pass catcher lineup of Garrett Wilson, AD Mitchell, and Jacoby Lane. Okay, you've got at least 3 young wide receivers to go with. And I believe that they drafted a tight end. Where are the Jets? Here you are. Mason Thomas, I want to say. Mason Taylor. Yeah. So this guy is also, I think, in their repertoire. We'd also want to look at picking up a running back for them. If Jeremiah Love was on the board at some point, I think that, and maybe they could move up for Jeremiah Love. I think that would be a really interesting pick for them. But let's talk about who they might look at a year ahead. So let's stop sharing this and let's go to Google and let's look at 2027 NFL mock draft. Okay. All right, let me share this as well. So CBS put out this article last month, a couple weeks ago. Josh, the trade deadline looms. A loaded 2027 draft class may make NFL teams think twice before parting with picks. Well, the Jets certainly acquired some. So let's just look at some of the prospects. Did you actually do a mock draft here? No. So let's see. Dead air, always good, always good. So you have Dylan Raiola from Nebraska could be coming out. DJ Lagway is a quarterback from Florida, 5-star. that might be coming out. Of course, Lenora Sellers from South Carolina could return to college and then be in this draft class. Arch Manning's a possibility. So it depends. Like, do you want to go quarterback now, or do you want to take a chance on quarterback in a year where you don't know? Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, as we said, Dylan Stewart is somebody that could come out. Let me see if I can back this up. Interesting. Okay, so Jeremiah Smith, Dylan Stewart, Dominic Raiola, Ryan Williams, DJ Lagway. Who else? Oh, Julian Sands in that class. This kid from Ohio State is really, really excellent. So basically, and they have 3 picks. They have 3 picks in this. Can we get a year ahead from? Probably not. So they have 3 picks in the 2027 class. So if you go quarterback now, you give yourself the ability to get 1, maybe 2 players from an absolutely loaded class from a non-quarterback perspective. And I understand that quarterback's the most important position in the NFL, but I think that we have seen now, if you hit on a rookie quarterback who's just competent and surround them with talent, I think that you're closer to a Super Bowl potentially than if you hit on a quarterback and then don't put as much talent around them. So I'm really interested in what the Jets are going to be doing. 4 picks this year, 4 picks next year in the first 2 rounds should be an amazing watch. So how does that compare to what the Lions are doing, right? Well, so a lot of people were disappointed that the Lions didn't make a move here at the deadline. I don't think that the Lions cap allows them to really make a move. Yeah, so let's talk about the Lions cap here real quick. Yuck. So, and then of course, yikes. All right, so this is the 2026 season, and these are estimates based upon the current roster. So obviously this will change. So the Lions are now under the cap based upon the Jamison Williams and Aiden Hutchinson contract extensions. That's finally gotten them under. They have effective cap space of $3.2 million, negative $3.2 million. So I believe that means that they have players on their roster that are likely to hit contract incentives that are going to push their roster up, push their salary cap space down in this case. But if we go back and we look at 2025, the Lions have $22 million. Right now they're 4th in the league with cap space, and they're going to roll over every dollar that they can. So right now, if the season were to end, the Lions roll over their cap space, they're going to have the 12 from next year plus the 22 from this year that they didn't use. That's 34. And then if the cap goes up on average, like it has been 15%, the cap is $279 million. So let's just do some quick math here. What is 279 multiplied by 0.15? That's 40 million, almost 42 million bucks that the cap, is that right? Let me just, is that right? 41.585 times. That's that. Yeah, I think that's right. The cap, let's say the cap goes up $30 million, just like kind of cut it down a little bit. So then the Lions are at $50 million in cap space. Then they're right where they need to be, to go into, they'll have cap space to go in and adjust their rosters they need to, that kind of thing. But if you take on a contract like a Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, Trey Hendrickson, whomever, like it eats up most of that space, right? So, and I think that what the Lions are trying to do is they're trying to get to the point where they can let contracts they signed in the first wave, Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, Ali McNeil, to spike and start to see those cap numbers decline so that they can then free up more space to like absorb cap hits like Aiden Hutchinson, Jameson Williams, Kirby Joseph, those guys. So I'm happy that the Lions didn't make a move at the deadline. I didn't expect them to make a move at the deadline, but a lot of people certainly wanted them to because the season hasn't really gone the way that I think a lot of people wanted it to go. The Lions are 5-3, but boy, did they look bad against the Vikings on Sunday. So, how do the Lions get better? Trades are one of the ways the Lions get better, and they didn't make one. So now people seem to feel like the Lions are missing out on opportunities to make the team better. Well, you got to remember, like, they already made trades to make the team better. They just did it last year during the draft. So, like, Isaac Tasla might be a real contributor over the last half of the season, or he might be an excellent player next year. Remember, one of the things the Lions did a year ago that they haven't done really at all this season is they used to play with Tim Patrick, who was almost like another tight end out there just blocking. And they just haven't had that at all this season, really, And so I wonder if that is a contributing factor to the difference that we have seen with the Lions and how their offense has been kind of not as crisp, let's say, this year. But once again, kind of keep this quick. I'm really happy that the Lions did not make a move at the deadline. I don't think that they needed to make a move at the deadline because, we don't have any third round picks, this coming draft, so we're going to draft first round, second round, and then we're probably not going to have much in the way of what do I want to say, versatility when it comes. Like, we're just going to be adding, like, we haven't hit on like a fourth round Derek Barnes or Amon-Ra St. Brown really since that first class, unless I'm totally forgetting about someone. If I am, please remind me. But, a guy like Ahmad Hassanein is probably going to be re-signed once he comes back from his injury designation. We don't know when that's going to be. And the team is going to get healthier. Like, DJ Reed's going to come back. Kirby Joseph, hasn't played the last 2 games. Who else? Rodrigo's window is open. He's probably back in a couple of weeks. So like there will be some depth coming back to the team, and like maybe that's the difference. But, I just think the Vikings kicked our ass, and that's the problem, was that they came in and basically said, we want this game more than you do. And we'll have more on this tomorrow at noon. So if you want to stop in and say hi, check out some of our thoughts. It'll just be me tomorrow for the live stream. We'll try and keep it to an hour and a half. And then maybe the Jets will be interesting, and Aaron Glenn's career as a head coach will really take off. And, we don't know. So hopefully this was interesting, and you guys will join us tomorrow at noon. here on YouTube and building the pride, and hopefully we'll be able to talk some more Lions. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye.